Well, Fred and I went over those earlier, and there was, I'm sure both of you guys were aware that there was a math miscalculation at some point.
Fred's gonna.
So we were gonna correct those and then correct the minutes.
Yeah, he's gonna go take care of it.
So, going first to the zoning commission secretary compensation, we've calculated 1858 as the rate of pay. It should have been calculated to 1860. And based on, so it was 1824 last year. The 2% would have taken it to 1860.
Okay, make a motion to correct
You want a
it.
motion for each one, Fred?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we two
It'll
different
make it
votes.
cleaner.
Yeah.
Two different
Okay.
votes when we did it, so. Okay, so we have a motion to make that first change, which I will second. That's for commission secretary.
Mhm.
Okay.
To 1860 per hour. That was Mike and PJ. John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
The second correction that needs to be made is for the Board of Zoning Appeals Secretary compensation. And it's the same numbers. We calculated 1858, it should have been 1860 based on prior year's pay of 1824.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
And then
Oh, we got to vote for it.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
the zoning commission secretary, Dee Blue, we had calculated
All right, so the first one was for secretary to,
BZA, I'm sorry, that was for BZA.
that was for BZA. The first one was for commission secretary.
The first one was for BZA.
We've done
Should have
two.
been BZA. Secretary.
Okay, and one of those is a pay rate for Jane currently working for the zoning inspector.
Right,
Did we do that one?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. Now we're on to commission secretary, so,
Correct.
okay.
Zoning commission secretary compensation, pay last year was $15.17. The correct pay should be $15.47. We had $18.58, so the motion would be to correct from $18.58 to $15.47.
So moved.
That's for D. PJ? Question?
Yeah, that's commission secretary.
Right.
Okay, all right. I'll second that then.
John?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, takes care of that.
And the minutes then, they've been pretty thoroughly reviewed, I think. I'll make a motion that we approve the organizational meeting minutes with those changes included.
I'll second. Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes. Chief?
I have two items. 2017 closed out at 685 calls. It does not include the 31 calls that we had on November 5th when we went into storm mode. So altogether, we're about 102 calls over last year. November 5th was the last one. Usually when we go into storm mode, we make one IR, and then we lump it all underneath that one IR. Pancake breakfast is coming up February 25th and March 4th. We made a little time change. It goes from 8 o'clock until 12:30. Before it was always 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It seems like we didn't ever have very many people after 12:30, so we shortened it up a little bit. Pricing the same as last year, $8 for adults, $6 for seniors, and $5 for kids. Flyers are up there on the wall. And last year we served about 718 people between the two Sundays. That's it for my report.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? PJ?
Just real quick, the only thing I have is, you guys probably are, I'm sure you're aware that the county, the USGS water study that's been debated a lot for the last 3 years. Planning Commission's putting together a little subcommittee to go over it again, and I'm going to be a part of that. First meeting's going to be, first we're looking at probably 3 meetings. First one likely to be next week. It could be pushed out in early February. They gave us 3 choices. I think there's 5 of us that agree with one date. So after the first one, I want to bring back whatever I got. Talk about this at our first meeting. I'm hoping to get your opinions and pass them along. That's all I got.
Mike?
Just to go over, it's actually under, first item under new business. We've had a number of requests to look at getting signs for Welcome to Auburn, new signs for the administration building and the other different buildings here. And specifically, we're looking at the Town Hall, Road Department, Administration Building, signs for driveways, and then 9 welcome/leaving Auburn Township signs. I had Nancy look for some different companies. She found this local company. They're out of Aurora. But what I want to look at is, and again, we're looking at something similar to what's on the first page. You have a freestanding post, hanging sign. I wanted you guys to take a look at the information and just see if there's, again, I usually trust Nancy, and she's got some people that are going to be working with her to kind of come up with a final recommendation for us, or at least a breakdown of something we can take a look at.
Yeah, I sat in on that meeting with with Chris from Easy Sign Group, and we were really interested in the, if you look at this Easy Build sheet, this sheet here, the second sign on the top, the EBSP2 sign, that's the one we were going to start with as far as getting specifications and proposed design. And that is approximately $1,800 a sign with that sign. And then we would choose a similar style, I'm assuming, for the facility signs, but it would be like a 2-post sign.
All right.
One thing I want to mention on this is these would be going on private property or in the right of way.
I don't know, I know that Nancy and Emmerich talked about that. So I think Emmerich, you said you were gonna.
Typically, you'll see them in the right of way, and if they're in the right of way, they have to be breakaway.
That's what I'm going to
That's
say.
one stipulation that will be held to as far as us being a public
Yeah,
entity,
and
erecting
these-
something within the right of way.
And these are breakaway.
Yeah, they have to be breakaway.
You know, the stone base.
It could be a
It's
facade.
It's a facade.
Yeah.
Facade. It's
Okay.
really just a box with facade, stone facade. on
And
it.
then typically,
You
they'll match
guys
the 6
know
by
it.
6.
I think everybody knows here, the state can be awful difficult to deal with. They
Right,
gotta know
as well.
exactly what we're doing before we
Right.
do it, yeah.
They give any rough estimates on the two-post signs for the buildings?
We didn't get an estimate on that. We did not yet get an estimate for that.
Do you want to just set a budget, though, to do these for, or are we close so we can do that? How many signs did you have again, Mike?
Well, we're gonna have the 3 signs for the buildings and then 9 street signs.
Right.
That's 9 times 1,800 according to this.
So just say 2,000.
18,000,
And, so,
18,000 for the road signs.
We gonna weed whack these things?
Yeah, I would imagine we would. The other thing, what about installation, Fred? Is that 1,800 including installation, or is...
Good question.
It,
I believe it
Does
doesn't
not.
include installation, but
that's
these are
because
like,
you would be installing it.
yeah, these are like relatively easy to install, come pre-made. And so, they said that typically when they sell these to cities, that you have their road departments put it
Okay.
in. I'm sure you guys have the skills to do this.
Handheld post hole digger, we got one?
We have gasoline powered one too.
yeah, why don't we use that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, assuming it might be a little bit more. See a budget of 25,000.
That sounds reasonable.
That's it, that should give us some room for the, assuming
Yeah.
the stand size are gonna be bigger.
Is there any surviving Eagle,
Yes.
Dicernas?
You have the one over here on Washington Street, the other one down on 44.
By Craig.
The one on Franks was taken out during a car accident in 2006, 2007, and that was the other one.
So we're down to 2 signs.
Yeah, we're down to 2 right now.
I'm gonna guess the life of those signs is at least, was 15 to 20 years.
Posts were rotting on these, so I'm
Yeah.
sure the ones that are still there are,
Well, the one that was taken out in 07 as well, PG, that was pretty rotten.
yeah, I'm sure those posts are,
I guess it's time. Those were all made by scouts.
yep, in the late 70s. Late 70s.
All right, I make a motion that we budget $25,000 for the sign project.
I'll second.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
And then what are they gonna, like, give us some
That's true, make some
potentials to look at, like, we're using the logo essentially, or?
yeah, you'll notice there is a bill for $150 as a deposit to do the design work. And he can turn that around real quick, within a week or so,
Yeah.
to do
Well,
the design.
I
And
know we're
then,
not gonna be installing anything in the near future.
yeah, I mean, this guy's turnaround, he said if we ordered soon, end of summer, at some
Yeah.
point.
So they'll
And
have
then
some
we-
like prototypes to look at it.
Yeah, and-
Because they got different shapes and whatnot, I see here.
And I don't know if you guys want us to get some competitive quotes or...
Yeah, probably wouldn't hurt.
Well, Newberry did theirs 5-10 years ago, I'm gonna say, anyway. Bainbridge did theirs It's probably been 10 years anyway.
Yeah, they got some new ones out.
Yeah.
That just showed up this year. I don't know
Newbury's
if
got
they're
the
all stopped.
same posting, and I think they're in the right of way. I'm pretty sure they are.
Well, I don't think, the post being in the right of way, I don't think that if we get it on the back slopes,
No, on the back slope is fine.
it's not gonna be an issue.
It
No, it still just
should-
needs to be
as long as they're
breakaway.
breakaway.
Just needs to be break, which, in turn, is just a notch in the post. They notch them a certain
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah. I don't think that's a big issue. So the only people that we have to really, you're gonna have to go to is the state.
Yeah,
They're a little finicky.
they are.
But if you, the one you're gonna, already on the state, is it not?
You know, some of those scout ones from the 70s were on private property, and I know that because the one was on Kate Squires at Messenger.
Yeah.
And remember that fella came to a meeting, he hated that old railroad tie thing? He pulled it out and made his own Auburn Township limit.
Yes, there's one there now that.
He came, that guy did that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still there or not.
Well, every once in a while you run into a quirky guy. Okay. Anything else you need, Mr. Troyan?
No, sir.
Mr. May?
Okay, I have your regular reports in front of you. Payment listing for the entire month of January. Warrants 4230 through 4286, totaling $75,884.67. Of note, we had a couple of salt orders on there that exceeded $10,000 each, and our Medical Mutual of Ohio premium of $20,000. You also have your fund summary report, revenue summary report, and appropriations summary report. I do need, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna hold off on, I have a resolution, but I'm gonna hold off until Mike's had a chance to give his presentation. So that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna just touch on a little bit what we did. Mr. Gordon, sir, he can help out a little. Salt-wise, we're in good shape. The ice obviously is the problem when you're doing salting, and we did go through a few tons of salt here. But we do have, how much in the bin, Emmerich?
Right now, we had about 200, we'll have a 200 replenishment coming in, which will put us at 4. I put in for another 5, which will get us to the door.
We'll be at the door,
And
single stack.
And typically, February's an average in the 500 to 600 range, so that should get us through a typical February, so. And then that still leaves a balance on this last year's contract for us to purchase as well.
Gentlemen, we've had some issues with some of the trucks.
See that?
And, you know, we're in a rotation, this is a rotation year for a truck. And actually, the guys are looking to go away from these internationals. And I champion that idea. We're having a lot of ridiculous breakdowns, wiper motors and hydraulics, just things that should, and none of them are being backed up by international or the vendors. So I think it's time to look to a different, maybe some other vendor. Do the same job, just see if we can't get somebody who will back up their truck and maybe a better quality truck. In the search for doing a new truck, you know, it's odd, but I think Bainbridge just had a belly full of international.
They just received a Mac and they just ordered a second Mac, I believe.
So there's a classic there, and now they were following along with us doing internationals. They were okay, it seemed like, for a while there, but they're just not a good vendor right now.
I think
So,
before International, we got sick of Ford.
the best truck we ever owned was a Ford.
And that's for some reason we got off the Fords.
Well, they don't make that bigger one anymore, people. And that, but one of the salesmen that, through the equipment that I deal with, he's on a board with like the service directors or something, he goes and listens, and the grumble in the room was the dissatisfaction with the IHs right now, the international. So it's not just us feeling it, it's a lot of other municipalities feeling the same pains with it.
The other reason we started with international was through the state purchasing co-op.
Right. Which I'm getting competitive bids
Yeah.
right now through MAC and Western Star.
They're all on there now.
Yeah, they're all on there. We're pretty close with MAC right now. She just made her final quote on that. I'm meeting with Western Star this week. I started with a preliminary. What I did with both of the vendors is I gave them what our old bill ticket was, said let's start there. Then you come and tell me where there's where you can do it better, or something that you might have that international doesn't have. So that's where I'm right in the phase of figuring out what Western Star's about right now. So,
Do we have any feedback from other townships who have other trucks that they,
we've talked to Manoa. They just bought a new Mack in 14 or 15. They've been very happy. John, what's his last name over at the service? Not the service director.
Oh, John Brett?
Yeah, there you go. We talked with him. We spent probably an hour over there talking with them. They're still in the infancy because they only have 2 years on their Mac, but right now they haven't had any problems, and they felt comfortable enough about looking into purchasing another one. They're getting ready to order another one, just like we're getting ready to order one. The salesman from Valley Ford, this Greg that I've been talking with, actually Chagrin Falls is looking at going away from international also. They're looking at a Western Star. So it seems the more you kind of poke around, the trends that everybody's starting to look right now. So it's just seeing where the prices come in with international. I did have international quote a truck. He's not aware of what, personally, I feel he's oblivious to the issues that's going on, to be blunt about it, but at least to give us back a baseline of what they are compared to everybody else. Since every truck, we keep trying to make it where it's less maintenance. Frame coatings, aluminum tanks, which is one of our big issues. Aluminum steps, we're switching to aluminum rims. Mack did offer us a full stainless steel oil pan. It's pricey, but we have had to do them before, so it's put the money up front, don't have the breakdown, or put the money on the backside and the aggravation that you're going back on it. We did talk to Kent today. We were down there looking at a piece of equipment. They started steering away from the internationals. We're looking at the Freightliners. They actually have 2 right now. Third one's getting built, and they're doing the same thing. They're moving slowly away because you just can't flip a whole fleet in a keystroke, and you don't want to because you kind of know what you have. If you put all your eggs in another basket, you could have the same thing with 4 or 5 other trucks. So, but that's where we're kind of sitting right now, is researching what's out there, because we're not happy currently what's going on.
So we'll be keeping the roads plowed and taken care of. We'll be tracking that down. We did go out before the ice storm and checked on some of our culverts we put in, and found that we were very pleased with what they were doing. So especially over in Auburn Springs, where the whole road was water was washing across the road, and so far we had a fairly good, I think, what did the county classify that as?
Well, with the snow melt coupled with the rain that we had that Thursday afternoon, that's why the engineer did let me know go out and check, because that would be a fair representation of a 25-year event.
25-year
That
event.
we sized the pipes under the roads for.
Yeah, we were only running about a third
Yeah, that pipe.
on that culvert that we put in, and it was, the whole subdivision was not in any jeopardy of flooding, so we were very pleased with that. We did have an opportunity, I guess you call it an opportunity, to go out and use the excavator
Last Friday.
last Friday. was over here, and it was everything we expected.
Yes. Went very smoothly in that. I did talk with the Bobcat rep today. The bucket, the minute that he gets our last bucket, our ditching bucket, he's hoping that it will be next week. It's supposed to get released this week, but I keep on him. I give him a call once a week and say, you stole us a bucket. And unfortunately, you don't get the check from us till we get our bucket. And he understands that's the situation, so. But he's keeping on top of it, whether I call him or he calls me, so.
So, well, I knew I had some that I didn't catch. All of those?
That's what they told me.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, anyway, it's always nice to hear a success story on that thing. So, with that, I did go over to the Maple Shade Restoration. I went over, I met with Joe Katowski the morning of the rain. He's got the basic drawing created. He's going to get together with Joe Drake, and so I expect to hear from him sometime here, maybe by the next meeting, with some ideas. We did have an interesting conversation with Dave Luca from the engineers. He's been basically in charge of the drainage on this Washington Street project. And one of the things we did kind of find out is they are going to center the road. And when they center the road, they're going to go to an open ditch. And the other thing that, without us saying anything to him, he said we need to consider abandoning this parking up here. And we said, well, that's odd you would say that, because we're considering that right now. They would like to see that open ditch lined up with the drainage that's already done last fall. The other thing is if you do an open ditch, it doesn't matter what, forever, how high they put Washington Street or low or whatever, we'll have adequate drainage. We won't have this water running down towards the building.
We should see that today out there.
We'll should get some flooding, and I'm hoping that we don't get water coming up where we have to call in and have it abated again. But it was very close on that Friday. I took pictures of it, and so we do have tie-in points in the county, so Dave is he said, no problem. Just as soon as Joe gets the drawing ready, send it up to him, and he'll go over it. So hopefully we'll get this water problem solved.
One of the reasons for the parking as well is that they're shifting north at
Right.
least 4 feet into our right-of-way here, which
Yeah.
would compromise on that
They're moving the
parking.
road this way.
Yes.
So the cars right now that are double parked, you'd be sitting out in Washington Street.
It'll be inconvenient.
Also, Falls was in, it looks like he did a little more trimming today, so hopefully we get this project wound up, this tree cutting. And that kind of segues a little bit into the tree cutting that our friends at Akron are planning. And I just think that we need to contact them and let them, it doesn't seem from their work schedule that they're aware of the Indiana bat situation. Would you agree on that,
Yes,
Emmer?
it would be odd with them being a municipality, it would be odd with them being a municipality.
Well, they're not talking about cutting
knowing.
trees until April. That's after the deadline.
That's after the deadline, March
So
31st is the deadline.
I was wondering here if we would contact somebody at Akron,
We could do that.
and let's just bring that to their attention, that we religiously follow that, and we expect them to too.
Okay.
Because we all know, we love the Indiana bat. It's been wonderful. It brings happiness to all of our residents. It's a huge ecological advantage to have those. Any other things you can think of?
Eat mosquitoes.
They eat mosquitoes. That's why you never see a mosquito in Auburn Township.
Need more bats.
I'm stretching that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. We did the welcome signs. We do have, anybody opposed to rejoining the Chagrin River Watershed Partners for 2018?
No, I can say our zoning inspector and his assistant are encouraging us to contract with them again because they are in steady contact with them, with using their services.
Well, I think it's a
There's
part.
a lot more to use a private service than we pay them in dues, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will make a motion to pay the membership dues for 2018 for the Chagrin Watershed Partners of $1,883.
Second.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike? Yes.
I just put this next item on here it's for those inquisitive minds. There is going to be a gas line upgrade on Taylor May Road between Munn and
That'd be Espinosa's property.
Espinosa's property. They're going from a 4-inch line, replacing it with a 6-inch line. And they will be boring, and they will probably start today.
They started on Monday.
Did they?
Yes, today, yes, correct.
Yeah.
They're there.
So, the project is being overseen by the Jalga County engineer. Nick is prepared quite a expansive engineering document that they're to follow, and Emmerich has a copy of that, and so I expect it to go well. And that, of course, is on the section of road that have not improved. That's what we're going to improve this year.
Correct.
Well, part of it is, yeah. So that shouldn't be an issue, but for those wondering what they're doing, they're replacing that from a 4 to a 6. One other thing that Emmerich and I met, and Chief Phillips met with the county, with Dave Luca, is that there's a cross culvert right in front of the fire station that runs north actually, and they would like to extend the length of that culvert maybe 15 to 20 feet, and at the same time they are going to regrade a little bit around that culvert, which we're hoping will get rid of some of that brush and maybe possibly make it mowable. So they presented a work agreement. John was in complete agreement with it, Emmerich was in agreement with it, and so I did go ahead and sign that. And with that, there's a couple more spots I think they got to do, but they're ready to roll when spring comes on this project, which will be the relocation of the road, actually, and paving.
That'd be a big job.
Yeah, it's a big project. Hasn't been done in quite a few years. The curbing is going to come out. Should help us a lot. The residents should help us a lot. You shouldn't have these rivers of water running down the hills whenever you get a decent rain, which are not safe. And, a swale can handle a lot more water quickly. And you can also see where a swale needs maintenance, whereas we don't have it. The curbing system it's just not adequate. There's not enough drains on the thing. And that's why you get these big rivers of water running backwards down the road, so I don't know. We also have Mr. Ludwig here. We've mentioned several times that it's necessary to do more full-depth repair prior to asphalt than we've been doing in the past. And, well, we feel we've been adequate. The engineers would like us to do more. We spent a lot of money last year in doing full-depth repair. And one of the reasons is, as I've mentioned in the past, we're not probably doing it in the most efficient manner, in that we identify an area, we go out and we generally send a couple guys out to saw cut. Then we go back to that area with a crew and with a backhoe and a dump truck, and we start to dig that area out. And the area that we dig out is generally about 24 inches wide as a minimum. And when we go to dig that out, due to the nature of using a backhoe, we're probably getting 8 inches of the road, if that's what's there. And sometimes
A little bit more.
10 or 12 inches if that's what's there. And then we go back and we fill it with asphalt, and we actually have a fairly deep hole in the road because of the way we're doing it. And it's very time consuming. So what we've been looking at, and actually about a month and a half now, 2 months.
And been about 2 months now.
Been really looking at these, it's called a cold planer. It's a grinding tool that you see that all the big contractors have great big machines that they can grind 4 feet at a time. I think some of those look like they can even grind a whole lane with, actually. But they'll go down and grind this thing off, and then get the imperfections off and go overlay it. What we think is we can speed up the full depth repair process by as much as 75%. How is that? That's from talking to all of the neighbors who already have this equipment, and also by watching guys doing it on videos. And there's a whole lot more control that the guys can have. I mean, they could literally go in and take 3 inches. And that's it. What you have to do is this grinder is mounted on a skid steer, and there's a lot of vibration that takes place. So you need a skid steer that's heavy. And we've also determined that you need to have a tracked machine and to have more contact with the road so that when you're going down these bumps and stuff aren't affecting you. Now the thing is adjustable, but you can go forwards, backwards, left and right. Am I right?
I can control the height of the depth out of the cab anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 6 inches. The typical pass is 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And I can oscillate the head from inside the cab. Everything's done off my thumbs. I can do everything, control everything, and I can oscillate that head up to 15 degrees to the left or the right, and side shift it as needed. So I can move it to the one side up to 24 inches. So I can actually have my track still sitting on the asphalt and reach over to that side. I don't have to be center lined on the trench every time. But I can take that head and I can oscillate it. Say if I want 3 inches because the edge is busted off from the garbage truck, I can take that head because it's a 24 inch, and after we get tweak the learning curve out of it, I can set that, say if I know a 15 degree, I can go from a 3 inch to where I'm only laying basically a feather edge on the upper side. So I don't have to be a consistent full say 3 inch cut every time. If if we're looking and we're only repairing that much, it's like, hey, we can tilt that and save asphalt, which, if I'm not doing that full grind all the way across, I'm saving on A, cleaning up the material and taking it someplace, and I'm saving material putting it back in the hole. So, where we have a good surface that we know that we might be resurfacing that year, get the bad spots, they come back through, they do their 3.5 inches overlay, and you would never know that we were there with the unit. But what we're looking at is basically minimizing the hand time and that. Grind it. All of us, the contractors, and that, they use a pickup room. I can pick the material up, take the unit off, takes probably about 5 minutes to take it on and off, put that on, sweep up the area, blow it out, get measurements, and go get asphalt. Or sit there and say that we're picking, okay, this will get us 8 tons, we're in a subdivision where we can put a road working sign at both ends, and you can open up, say, 300 feet, mill it, clean it up, and put the material back in it, and then move on. And that, where it's more permanent repair, where we know that we're not gonna resurface that year or the next, we could crack seal them to gain some longevity off of them, to keep the water out of it, since the water is our enemy, especially when it gets as cold as it does around here. So, what I did is I sourced the 3 vendors, Case, which is Southeastern Equipment, which I've sourced them before for equipment. Bobcat, I looked into them. They brought, Case and Bobcat brought units out for me to look at. Just the unit, since we have no place that we could utilize the cold plant. But basically, if I grind someplace, I gotta fill it in right now. So, and then I looked at Caterpillar, which Newberry had one. Mike Fenstermaker and I went up, talked to Doug up there, asked him the pros and cons, and that's where we went from it. So I physically saw all 3 units. I tried 2. I looked at the 3rd. So we looked at it. Mr. Everly's got the propaganda on them. I gave you guys the pricing breakdowns. So what happened is I tried them. I broke them down as I typically do, warranty, horsepowers, and all that. And the bang for the dollar was with Case, that we felt that the visibility was the best. And one of the pictures that I put in both of your packets is what they were able to give us is we're running a water kit on all 3 of them. They were all spec'd with water kits, which if I can keep the carbides cool, I can get some longevity out of the tips. Since we really don't know what the longevity is, it depends how hard you push it, how much you heat it up. But with Case, what the manufacturer makes for them is it's a four cornered strobe light kit on it, which you're looking at, Mr. Troy, with the water kit. So it doesn't matter what direction I'm sitting up on the road, everybody can see me up there, whether I'm doing a 90-degree pass or I'm going parallel, that we're much more visible with that unit. There was some extras on it that they suggested, but the other big thing of it is that they're offering a 2-year warranty on it. There's a lot of electronics in them now. The other manufacturers are 1 year. The other manufacturer was 1 year and then 1 extra year on the motor. And
So that's full, everything, 24 months.
yeah, through Case. But Conitech, that I put the brochure in there, for the beauty of what they're saying with their grinder compared to the norm, is they have an open wheel design, which allows me to cut deeper, and we've watched the videos on it. I can grind faster with it, because on a typical drum, the teeth only sit 2 inches down, so I might have to go in to do a 6-inch fill. I might have to go and mill it, scoop it out, broom it out, and do it 3 times, where we're hoping that the typical 3-inch that we're hoping, 3-inch I can go through, do 2.5 inches or 3, depending on how hard the material is, and setting it where the mills are still in there, and then we can come back through, put the broom on, and clean these up to minimize the exposure of that you have an open mill spot on it. So that was some of the big things that we saw that we liked with Case, is that open wheel design. Caterpillar and Bobcat, they had a closed wheel design with a shorter pick on it. And we're looking, Bobcat was very close in a lot of senses except the grinder. We wanted to buy a grinder, a broom, and a machine from one vendor, where if we have an issue, you're sourcing through one instead of saying, I have your, due to with the grinders, I mean, it's one thing if you buy an aftermarket bucket or forks, if it breaks, you just deal with it, but since this is gonna be the meat and potatoes to keep us moving, I just felt that was one of the combinations that I'm gonna get good dealer support out of the unit on it. So what I did is I broke them all down, it was the machine with a bucket on it, and then I broke it down to the attachments with the grinder, with the water kit, and then forks we got in case we need it, say if we need to go into the park to pick a tree off the path, and then I got the broom with it also. So I kind of broke it down both ways because that was easier to do the apples to apples on it. So
They use their own engine probably, Case does. Kind of looks like it, just because they only put numbers there.
yeah, it's a DT. It might be a Cummins power plant on there, because I know there was a Cummins in the old backhoe. I really never asked, but it's been a proven motor. I mean, it goes quite a bit back with that unit.
Well, even this doesn't tell you.
No.
I'll give you the,
I mean, I could find that out for you. I just really never.
just interested in
Yeah.
what they're using these days.
Yeah, John and I were talking about it, and I've talked to the salesman more than once, and it just really didn't occur to me to ask, because it is.
Well, it's a four-cylinder turbo, and everything's got to be tier 4 if it's over 25 horsepower now. So
I think it's up to 70 now,
Is it?
because Caterpillar, they were at 72, they hit the threshold that they didn't need to run fluid. The other two we looked at, they're 90 horsepower, you had to run fluid on it. So, we tried to avoid the fluid the best we could through the years. The salesman that I was talking to through Southeast, and I said, boy, if you could find me a tier 3, and he goes, if I could find a tier 3, I wouldn't be able to keep holding, because everybody would want to go back to tier 3. You know, vice the emissions, and the cost of the product goes up with it, so. Is there any other questions about the machines or the grinders or anything?
just, I looked at your spreadsheet, and without talking to you, I would have guessed you'd have gone either Case or Bobcat. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if, the only thing I'm saying is travel time, you're not gonna be doing a whole lot. We're gonna trailer this out to place.
well, I mean, you're gonna run it down the road, but to be honest with you, even when you're at 7 miles an hour, even in the Mini, when you're going down the asphalt, it's chattering your teeth. It's smooth, but
That's the thing with skid loaders, they drive you nuts because they're so damn slow.
right,
Yeah.
and that.
Quite a speed difference
But the
there.
biggest thing that, when everybody looked at them, everybody got to look at them at least a day, was on the Bobcat and on the Caterpillar, the way that the rear towers were and the crossbars, you couldn't see real good. The Case had very good visibility out of the back end, which, when we're working in traffic, that's a huge, A, being able to see what you're doing, but B, them being able to see what, so, but with Bobcat did have, they called it a creeper control in it. I tried it, I wasn't impressed by it. That was one of their selling features on it, that you could put anybody in there to mill. I've ran rock counts, I've never had that. You just know, after you learn it, you know how fast you can go. What Case has is they call it sensitivity control in it. And that, you can go in, you can slow down the bucket, you can slow down the boom, and you can slow down the sensitivity of the drives at the same time. So it might be that you have to go in and slow it down till you get the feel of it, every single time. So, but it was definitely between the Bobcat, the monies were there, but Bobcat got it close in the quote. Case gave me a bolt-on cutting edge, I would have had to pay extra for that. There's a couple, so when you start adding on an extra cutting edge, it's a very minimal cost
I think
between
that
the two.
warranty is important, though.
Yeah.
The warranty's big on it, but the other thing that we liked is Caterpillar and Bobcat, They had electric pumps or water tank. One was up on the roof, it was very expensive. The other one was on the back corners. You got water pumps on them, you got switches. The Conitec is a gravity. Simplicity has a lot to say. I mean, we might do something to make it a little easier where a guy can shut it on and off, but the way I look at it is nothing a $50 solenoid switch couldn't fix the problem. And
We had rear-mounted water tanks?
Bobcat did. They said all the way back in the rear corners.
Can you get to the engine without taking it off?
They actually sat it on both sides, so they sat within the tracks on the rear. So your tailgate and everything's so open, but it sat like a, have you seen the tree spade outriggers, PJ? No, okay. Yeah, they actually sit on the back corner, but it was, you had pumps on there, and then you got hoses running from the back to the front.
You can open the door though?
Yeah, you could still open the door and everything. It didn't impede any of that, but now you got a hose from the back of the machine to the front of the machine where, with Case, it was a very simple system. However they run that tube, it's there, you know.
That's all factory installed now, right?
Case, it was turnkey and everything on it, so,
I think that's important too.
yeah.
Well, you do a good job researching this stuff, Michael.
Thank you.
One of the other things that we're looking at as well is that with that speed, we get more volume out of this machine. Mr. Neville and I, through our conversations with the engineers last year, and with the amount of full depth repair that we did and paid the contractors last year, we could have paid for this machine in one season. The one thing that we are looking at, and it was a suggestion by the engineers, let's start looking at 2-year projects. Repairs in the summer, or repairs throughout the course of the summer. You know, plant opens in April, closes at Thanksgiving. Typically, we were operating in a hurried fashion. I don't want to say with archaic means, but slower means. We were always pressed to get the jobs completed before July, before the beginning or middle of July. And this would enable the engineers to bring the contractors in prior to school opening and get these roads done. What this will enable us now, through this next year and the next 2 seasons, we will have done cold planing all the way out through the fall. Ergo, those projects are ready January 1st to put out to bid. Once again, we're getting the lowest price. Because right now we're not out to bid yet because we're waiting on our completion date for this first year's projects. So we'll be able to offer up our ensuing year's projects, put them out to bid January 1st, start as soon as the plant's open. And boom, boom, boom. And then we're rolling after that. And you'll see, I know you guys are waiting. You haven't seen our PowerPoint yet. But within that 5-year plan, you'll see that we have now embraced and instituted the 2-year plan in there as well. We'll do the road prep season 1, surface season 2. So,
If you get a wet spring, it just upsets the whole apple cart. And now you're really rushing to get this full depth repair done so that you're not delaying. Now it's, you know, it's wet everywhere. It's not just wet here, but under this other system, the 2-year system, it's not that big a deal. You still have more than enough time to get your asphalt in, and you have enough. The way I look at it, we're picking up almost 6 weeks of full depth repair time.
and we're not competing for a rental as
And
well.
we can go out and do it for 3 days and stop. So initially, in my mind, this is going to take a little bit of break-in, figure out a system. But I actually think since we have very high-quality men, I don't think it's going to be, I'm not worried about it, and I don't think any one of them are worried about it. We'll get it, and probably within a week to 2 weeks, we'll be off and running with a system that will start to immediately reap benefits. And actually, we could have bought one of these last year and threw it away at the end of the season. We'd probably still be about $40,000 to the plus.
Not that we would do that.
Not that we would do that. But I'm just saying, that's how skewed the economics are of what we're paying for full depth repairs right now. We're really, to the tune of about, I think, $140,000
repairs next year.
in the projects last year, just full depth repair. And had Emmerich and I not did a lot of talking, that number could have gone even higher. So, questions?
No?
So I'd like to, like I said, I think Mike does more than a 2-day project to research all these things.
Well,
Yeah.
it's, the hard thing with it is trying to keep everybody apples to apples. So somebody's gotta be the guinea pig to start, and then everybody falls behind, so.
Well, based on the excavator in the cemetery itself is just gonna make that much
All right,
less of a mess, less potential things to go wrong.
all right.
And you're gonna find a lot more use for it than that, but I think just up there,
Yeah.
would,
We did all the dry pipes last August, September with the excavator, and the amount of speed that we're able to do with it, popping them in, and you didn't have to chain them up and that, so it's,
We had to run it though each time.
yeah, the one that we rented for, we can have.
well, that makes a sense on a lot of different levels, and I think
Right.
that's, you're gonna find that
You're gonna use it if you have it, yeah.
So you're liking the case in the package?
Yes. I would recommend, with the case, it was the 380 TV, and then the package that they proposed, which was on the next page after the quotation, with the grinder, the forks, and the sweeper, and the beacon. The bucket was in the first quotation.
That comes with a bucket.
Oh, you buy a bucket.
Material bucket? Oh, that's part of that down there?
Yeah.
It comes with absolutely nothing on it then.
So you get a seat out of it, that's about it.
I was gonna say, a bucket for $8.50, that's the kind of thing that I buy aftermarket, that's what I'm gonna pay for a 7-foot material bucket, so it's,
Yeah, no, what I had them do is set me up with the bucket on them. In Southeastern, they had the strobe kit that was an add-on, but I put that into the initial price to do the apples to apples, so everybody had a strobe kit, everybody had a
well, you
bucket.
need that.
Right,
You need that.
so,
Yeah.
so what I did is I
Right.
build it one direction to keep everybody apples to apples on my spreadsheet, but then on the quotations, it was, like Southeastern, they busted it down as the add-ons, and then just the base machine, so.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to,
We should, procedurally, we should do two separate motions, one for the skid steer and one for the attachments. Because,
Okay, we can do that.
Sure, we got a lot of motions.
So wouldn't it be better to write one order though, Fred? No?
I don't wanna do that.
Okay.
then we're looking at the case.
No, but what if they bring you the machine and they don't bring you the attachment? You gotta have some kind of a hammer to hold over their head.
The machine is state bid,
Yeah.
the rest isn't.
Isn't, okay, all right then.
Yeah. Some of it, Caterpillar, they had that they gave state bid, but I put everybody out for their competitive bid on it. And we were talking that, since we know everybody was on state bid on the machine and the bucket, and then
Okay.
someone in the
Well,
state bid.
you'll have contact with these people.
Yeah,
yeah.
Just explain.
Mike will be
It's not a
on
big
like,
deal.
Yeah,
like chicken
All right,
thighs.
so purchase, make a motion to purchase from, I believe that was Southeastern, the
Yeah.
Case TV 380.
go on the two more sheets back, PJ. Go to,
63,940.
no,
60, no.
go to this one. Because this is just the machine, this quote.
Okay,
And then this one will be for the attachments, the grinder, and the
Right.
stroke kit, so.
so that one would be 63,263. Is that bucket in there, Mike?
Yeah. Yep. Should be an 84-inch with a bolt-on cutting edge.
Yeah, I see it. 63,263.85.
63,263,
85.
85.
It's in your package.
On the one page, Mike, I thought it said 63,914.
Yeah, you have that on your spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go by their quote rather than the
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
go by the quote,
Yeah.
because the spreadsheet, Mike, what I did is to keep everybody apples to apples. I put the strobe kit in there to keep them apples to apples on the machine. But the way that they quoted it, because they upgraded us to that different strobe, that's how it got with them on the attachment side, so.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna,
when you add it up, it's still what the total is on the second page of my spreadsheet.
So that was a motion.
yes.
Second.
Mike seconds. John?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna make another motion, and that's to purchase the equipment package that goes along with that machine, including a planer, broom, pallet forks, and a strobe kit for $24,000.
Second.
John?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
As if that wasn't enough, we rented a floor cleaner here at Christmas. And found that I think everybody was able to witness what a phenomenal job this machine can do. And you can clean that entire 20,000 square feet shop in a couple hours.
Two guys about 3 hours to
So
clean it, so.
you can also run that thing up and down behind the trucks after they come in initially. And just one day I was standing there, they rolled in with 2 trucks. Mike took the thing and went back and forth, did about half of the shop distance, about 100 feet, in probably 15 minutes. The other nice thing about this machine is when it cleans, it doesn't throw dust all over the rest of the shop. And you say, well, geez, you could put water on the floor and you know, with a hose and then sweep it up. But you know, this thing also picks up all the water, so there's no water laying on the floor after you run the cleaner across it. I became a huge proponent of one of these machines when at our own shop, where we were cleaning 50,000 square feet, and for many years we're beating our heads against the walls. And we finally rented one of these things, and when we saw what it could do, we ended up buying one. They're pretty expensive when you buy them brand new, but we found that if you buy a reconditioned one, you can really save a lot of money. The wear item is the squeegee bar in the back and the
Brushes on it.
brushes. So anyway, we have
Is this the CCM, is where we got the last?
Yeah, what happened is when we initially came to when we moved in the shop a year ago in October, we were working with a company that was quoting us our new pressure washer unit. And they brought us out a brand new floor scrubber to demo for maybe an hour. And we got the prices, and as I put on the second sheet, what they quoted me from last year, it was $12,000 for the unit, which we thought that was a lot of money, and there was a cheaper way of obtaining this, but we just didn't really research it. So when I contacted CCM to rent a floor scrubber from them, this gentleman, Don, brought us the unit, because CCM doesn't own their own unit, and said, hey, I recondition these, I sell them. So that's how we started a little bit of the rapport with them of using this unit. For him to bring this unit to us and drop it off for a week, which now know what we're knowing, you can clean the shop easily in a day, not even breaking a sweat. That's moving every piece of equipment that we had. We were paying just for a week for that unit. We were paying $550 for that unit.
$5 is just gonna say that.
So when I talked to him a little bit more, I said, hey, tell me about your reconditioned units. So Tennant is, as much as I know and a little bit that I do know about floor scrubbers, there's a Cadillac. So I said, hey, what do you need out of one of these units? So I got the quotation from him and I said, hey, I want some extra brushes and the squeegees on it. And as it shows that he's putting new batteries in it, he's putting the new vacuum motor and squeegee blades on it, and he's giving us a 90 days parts and labor on it, which I believe, when you look at a new unit, yeah, you're getting 3 years, but as we talk to them, the parts aren't that expensive. You can buy the spin brush motors for $200 a piece. So when you look at the extended warranty, not the extended, but the warranty on a new unit compared to what these used units are, it doesn't justify spending 4 times the amount on a brand new unit to say we have a brand new one when this used one that was a rental worked just as good. So my proposing to the board is I'd like to get the approval from you to be able to do business with Toast, he says Toast Place, but it's Don Toad that brought it out to us, and to see if we could purchase this for, he quoted me $3,300. He does have the units, so we could still be using it in the full force of, we know it's gonna snow, we know there's gonna be cinders all over the floor, and so we can keep the shop as clean as we can, since it is a nice shop. When we cleaned it up, it looked beautiful.
There's one other little caveat in this.
Right.
We have a 3,000 gallon tank that every time you run the hose, fills up, you're starting to fill it up with water. It's kind of pricey to get that thing.
We probably cleaned that whole shop. It was a double pass, and I didn't count the tanks, but I'll bet you we cleaned the floors probably 300 gallons of water, and we drained it outside.
Yeah.
Because we vacked it up. So you're not taxing the pump, you're not putting the water in the tank, so there's a lot to say with,
But there's more to it than just having a clean floor,
right, so,
which is important, in my opinion.
so I was just asking the board
Yeah.
for approval on that unit and tell you
I
what
think
we
that's
found
a
out.
fantastic idea.
It'd be the same unit we saw up there.
Yeah, it'd still be that, he does all reconditioned, that was one that was in his rental fleet, so. But it seems like he knows it, and he actually, the day that he brought it out, it was 10 degrees in the water valve, and actually, to be honest with you, it was the best thing that happened, because he took the covers off, and he actually educated us in it at the same time, and when you see it, it's such a simplistic system that if we can fix trucks and stuff like that, there's nothing that we can't fix on that unit, and we can get the parts still from them, if something would go.
I think it was the joy on Fenstermaker's face operating that thing. Never seen a guy smile.
You know you're gonna use this more than 6 times this year alone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so moved. Toast Place, used Zamboni.
Tenant floor
Oh, that's for
plan.
ice.
Yeah,
It
we
looks
don't,
like one, it looks like a little mini Zamboni.
yeah, we don't wanna see that much ice, Jay.
$3,300
Second.
with spare parts.
John,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, gentlemen, do you have anything else? Any comments?
Yes, I do.
Dale?
Yeah. Emmerich, this is for you. Last storm. Don't know if the township was caught unawares. There was like only one swipe down Lindsay Lane and probably Jennifer as well. And while it wasn't, was this at a point where the township was at risk of running out of salt?
No, we were never at risk of running out of salt. We had a contingency plan that if I needed to borrow salt, that's all that we had. We
Okay.
never ran out. What we had was a situation during that, right when that storm hit, I had 3 guys at the funeral, I had 2 guys on the plow.
Yeah,
But we did revisit your subdivision again and again. I have 4
Yeah,
runs.
right.
Actually, I have 4 runs for your subdivision alone in that day.
Okay, the only reason for mentioning it, it's not a problem for us.
Yeah.
We're used to that hill and that incline. The bigger problem, as you are aware, is that there is a pretty rugged ravine that is pretty badly, it's very badly eroded, and we have elements on the street who have wiped out in that ditch multiple times because they're caught off guard. So our biggest concern was not for our maneuverability, but for the other folks on
Yeah,
the
and then
street
once
who
again-
ultimately wind up
Yeah.
in my ditch.
Yeah, once again, when we say, and typically what a sheriff or trooper says is driving
This is driving me
conditions.
crazy.
So if it is apparent and it's icy, and you guys have lived out here so many years, you know how to drive.
Oh, yeah, we don't have a problem on the hill,
Right,
but,
right, yeah.
you know,
No,
some of the
we-
newcomers.
75 times.
Oh, yeah, I totally get it, but it's happened it happens all around the township, or they're in the ditch
Yeah, I
during
think
that
that's just in
storm,
case.
even on flat roads.
Yeah. So actually, if you have a situation like this last one again, is there just gonna be one swipe down the road? or-
There wasn't one swipe, it came down, are you talking about the center line?
No, talking about the right lane, the one that.
No, yeah, there's no one swipe, you never come one swipe, it plows down,
Yeah,
plows
the
back.
one lane, the one past this to the left.
No, that's
That
the
was
right,
clear,
oh,
no
that,
problem. But on the right, that
that
was,
is the mount.
Yeah, that was plowed, I think it was the way that
2300.
particular
Right.
truck who took over that route was spitting more salt out
check it.
than one side of the
Make sure it's all okay.
Which is the truck that we're moving for, so that's the
Because
red
that's gonna be the
truck.
way
No
it goes.
problem.
If you look, you'll see you'll have the red truck going up and down there. Yeah, and that's the one that throws it more or less to one side.
Dale, you had a question?
I was just curious about, maybe I'm not understanding completely this full depth repair thing. But this is one, there's several items we've been talking about, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But as we have taken more things, or we're taking upon more things here that township employees are doing, that we have been contracting over the last several years, is that true? Or
No,
maybe,
that's not true.
because I'm hearing one thing from Emmerich talking about we're contracting full depth repairs. This is just one of the items,
Yeah,
as opposed to,
this last year was, this last year, let's call it, the initial year where the engineers asked us to roll the amount of full depth repair into the contract.
yeah,
And we did, and we acquiesced, and we did that. And the dollar amount that came back, we were really shocked, and Mr. Evelyn and I actually walked the roads personally and said, well, we know this road, we know where needs, what needs what. In the past, we've always done all the full depth repair.
okay.
It was just this last year, and it was such an eye-opener. And once again, since we are embracing the engineers asking us to do a 2-year program, a 2-year step, we feel that it's necessary for us to get the volume out there now, to be able to expedite, the process as quick as we can to get as much done as we can in that construction year. So that's where we're moving with this, so. But in the past, with the backhoe, and saw cutting in the backhoe, it took a lot longer for us to get the amount of full depth repair required to what we say is deliver a good product, which, the engineers are already safeguarding us as well, making sure we're delivering a good product.
So how much of the full depth repair have you found as you're doing that is a base problem, not a road pavement problem, where you have to excavate beyond the pavement anyway?
Nothing from Columbus.
Typically, you can tell, usually with the base problem, you'll have more deformation into the road where it sags.
Which is pretty common in our township roads.
Yeah, a lot of it you'll see though where it's just fractures on the surface, where the asphalt's become so brittle that your top courses have now fractured, but your base is intact.
Right.
So that's called a partial depth repair, which is like a 3 to 4 inch, which actually we have a lot
We
of that.
think that probably 80%, 75 to 80% fall into that
The
category.
partial depth.
The partial.
Just where it's a
We've been
pavement
doing-
issue, not a base issue.
Where we've been doing full because we don't have really the ability to do partial. And
Start
so,
out as partial, but it's full, and they're done with that.
that's right. It starts off as partial. When it's done with the backhoe, you end up with
It
a
would
full.
become.
We're just trying to do more with less men. That's the real object of what we're trying to do. especially with this piece of equipment. And that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
same purpose of the excavator. When we do these cross culverts and we do driveway culverts, we're probably spending 50% of our time doing restoration. In other words, we go into some place, and some of these subdivisions, there's extensive landscaping at the ends of these driveways. But our machine goes clear across the whole driveway. So
Yeah, I've got a backhoe.
consequently,
I know how
we're
that-
tearing up stuff
What it
that
does.
doesn't really need, we're looking at a ground pressure with this machine here, I think it's 4.7
Yeah, Definitely
pounds per square
different.
inch.
Yeah, I guess the question wasn't as much the use of the equipment as, I mean, I fully understand the advantages of the equipment and everything and what we're doing with them. It was just more of a thought that as we're moving, we talked about even with the culverts where we were hiring contractors to put in these culverts, now we're gonna do them ourselves.
We've been
So
doing
as
that
we
ourselves with the backhoe.
We've been doing those
Well, I
smaller
know, that's
culverts
not what the
ourselves.
comments have been made in these meetings though. Because we've been talking about money that we're saving on contracting. And that doesn't matter. The point was just that if we're moving more work from contracts into township employees, are we reaching a point where we're taking township employees that would be doing other things that aren't gonna be done now because they're doing this kind of work? Which means we're gonna be looking at hiring more employees?
No, that's not
That
what
we're
we're
not
talking
looking at doing.
I think that all this stuff, the potential of doing all this kind of work is always going to go over between the board and the guys in the service department prior to taking these things on, Dale. This is not something we're arbitrarily throwing at them.
Oh, no, I
We do
understand
this.
that.
We do this. No, there's a good working relationship there, and it's in effect every day. So,
Yeah, that
we're
was.
taking more on in-house, you're right, but it's work that's gonna have to be done anyway. Do we pay a contractor and their labor and their overhead to do it, or can we do this ourselves? That's always been discussed.
Typically, in our cross culvert pipes, especially on through roads, the engineers like us to use RCP, the concrete pipe. We really didn't have the type of equipment to handle that. We have the backhoe, especially the larger pieces, which we would then contract out. In the subdivisions, we're able to use the HDPE, the double wall plastic, which is easier for us to handle. And we've tackled all the way up to 36-inch pipes with the plastic, but not the
RCP.
concrete. Yeah,
Right.
the RCP we contracted out. But now with the piece of equipment, we're comfortable up to 24-inch RCP. Anything that eclipses that, we still will have to contract out when it comes to the larger pipes, because we just don't have the larger excavators.
Sure.
And, to do that, so.
Well, and the equipment's gonna make it more efficient, so we're gonna save time anyway, so.
Right.
It was just a concern that I've heard several times about, we're spending a lot of money to the contractors. If we do the work ourselves, we don't have to pay the contractor.
Or the rental place we've been getting this.
Right. But we still have to pay somebody, so I was just, are we jeopardizing our township employees' time that by taking on more work ourselves?
Saving labor.
That's where my management
Brad, do you want to?
Yeah, I apologize, I almost forgot. I have a resolution that we have to pass based on the motions to purchase the equipment. So resolution 2018-01, read it, put into the record. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Jan County, Ohio, that the board finds it necessary to make the following supplemental appropriation of the Road and Bridge Fund, $120,000 to account 2031-76740, machinery and equipment.
So moved.
Second.
John?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
See that?
Thank you.
Well, that'll be fun.
Actually, take good causes. I didn't think that would be one of them.
Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
That's enough for tonight.
Motion of all motions?
Second.
John?
Opposed? None? Yes.
I think we're all gonna vote yes.
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Go home, boy.
Excellent idea.
Mike, you did an excellent job on it, researching all that.
Outside, they might try to salt the daylights out of the road and so we'll do it anyway, because I hate driving in slush. Slush is the slickest, worst thing, worse
Way to
than
spend that.
So far, you have a pretty good track record on equipment, Mike.